Thank you so much for doing this with me today. Hans, I would love it if you could say a little bit about who you are as a therapist and how you found the Pact model.
So got trained and educated in Germany, and then also I'm here for 37 years, and I am also got trained here. I learned a lot about family therapy and then also couples therapy. And I was familiar and were learning in different models before. And approximately 12 years ago, I heard about Stan. And then as many, when you hear him the first time for one-day seminar, I was captivated because a lot of the things that he said made a lot of sense. And especially his kind of reframing the issue about being in each other's care. So this is another name for co-regulatory model. That's a model more of differentiation and more a model of really caring about each other and being invested in each other's growth, compared to other models that emphasize more that you have to do things alone and it's up to you if you grow or not.
Yeah.
So I felt that this was a wonderful concept.
Well, I so appreciate you breaking it down like that, because it was one of the things I loved about the Pact model as well, developed by Dr. Stan Tatkin, for those of you who don't know. This model really, I think in my opinion, elevates the relationship to being the space in which we heal, because it's often the space in which we are hurt. And so when we look at relationships as being key to our survival and key to our thriving, of course it makes sense that they should be part of the puzzle of what healing looks like. And Stan does a nice job of capturing that. Yeah,
and of course then and learning more and how then the model was developed, mostly of course through Stan, but also other practitioners. It is based on evolutionary principles that are expressed in attachment theory, which makes a lot of sense. This predominant urge for us to look for safety and security, and that a couple relationship can provide this. Of course, only a couple relationship that is relatively well-functioning, benevolent, and we also know that the opposite can be true. And for children, a very abusive or neglectful parenting can be damaging, so can be a poor and badly managed relationship for us.
True, and so often if we start with a poorly managed parental-child situation, people who then go on to be adults tend to replicate a lot of those dynamics in their adult relationships. And so it becomes a bit of a perpetuating and vicious circle. So using a model like this is really great, because when people can recognize that their history has informed who they are and what they bring to the table, but it doesn't have to completely be a part of every step forward, can feel so empowering, right? And it really takes away a lot of the pathology and shame that can come with feeling like, wow, I can't do relationships well. I'm a problem, I'm broken. And the reality is we all bring misattunements to our relationships because we've all experienced them in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if we really look a bit more deeply and self-reflect, we're all very poorly equipped to do relationships well. And so we're all learning, and that's another part I like. It's kind of a co-learning model. I often feel like we are two partners in training, and we help each other to get better. And so it's an evolving model, it's a growth model that also knows that our partners, here's an interesting misunderstanding that many people bring. They think, so here's the soul connection, your partner is ready-made and wonderful and everything is fine. But of course, as we all know, when the chemical cocktail wears down, that what happens then is that we're discovering the partner doesn't come ready-made. We're actually shaping him or her through our involvement, through our attention, through our deep care, we have an influence that our partner can grow into the partner that we actually want and need. So this is a very different model than being, so to say, passively sitting there. Now I'm being disappointed. She's not the one I thought she would be. He's not the man I married. And now what we're going to do? It's much more an active model that we're actually shaping each other and helping each other to become the person we want to be.
Yeah, it's such a great way to think about accountability and responsibility in relationships, because I like what you said. Oftentimes people get into a relationship and they think, okay, my partner comes all wrapped up in this nice little package and the bow, and that's how they're going to forever be. And I think we forget sometimes that we included are dynamic creatures. So of course our partner is, and we have to be in constant conversation and examination of how each partner in a coupleship is evolving throughout their lives so that we can...
Right. Just talking about this, there are so many ways we could continue following different strains. You know, how do we make partners grow? How do we grow ourselves? How do we learn? You know, humanity deals with this for many thousands of years, that when you look at history, we're not really very benevolent beings, right? Or habit. So how do we really learn? And then also about, we've learned so much about our brains and our nervous system, our physiology, neuroendocrine systems are functioning. And so we are revising over the last 10, 15 years or 20 years, a lot of concepts that have influenced our work as therapists, as well as couples work and how couples understand each other. And so now we know much more. For example, the way we are constructed as human beings, it's much more bottom up than we often like.
Yes.
As we all know, we are not really in control.
Yeah.
And the idea that there is a CEO in our brain somewhere that directs our life and directs our emotion is completely put at fault. And there's so much evidence that's the other way around. So by this, you know, that we're understanding that we're really built bottom up, and that this is determining so much how we operate in the world, and of course how we operate with each other. And
so for those people who don't know what bottom up means, essentially what this refers to is a sequence of processes that inform everything that we do without our consciousness. So these are things like whatever lives in our cells, whatever lives in our heartbeat, in our life force. It's everything from the body up, versus a top-down model, which is what most of us like to believe is the governing force, is sort of from our thoughts, the rest takes form. And of course, there's a big interplay between our thoughts, or the top, and our body and the bottom. But Hans, what you're saying is that it's really so much of what we do is unconscious. And we are not aware of it for a long time in the space and life of the mind, until finally that part of our brain that we want to believe to be the CEO is like, oh yeah, that's happening.
Obviously, we're all struggling with this. I think we're all a little bit behind in our daily life, behind science. We still operate with old models. And part of this is also, Kate, as we know, when we're under stress, the brain always goes back to the past. So I'm under stress, now my capacity goes down to process the world, process my partner. So now I'm defaulting to an earlier, maybe less sophisticated brain memory. And so it can go all the way down, that we're going down and then reacting in kind of very primitive ways. And we all know this, that we're losing ourselves and regret what we said, you know, maybe 10 minutes later, maybe definitely next day.
Hopefully.
How we're defaulting on different patterns in this way. And so this is very difficult how we can change this, especially, so to say, when it's happening. As you know, Kate, there's so many models, right? 5 ways to the secrets to marriage, 17 whatever things you should do with your partner. And of course, these principles work when you are not under stress. But when we are under stress, then different things, different modes of our brain, different physiology is happening.
Yeah.
And then we're in trouble. And that's what we're trying in this work, to work from bottom up, to have it hot, making mistakes, getting off the rail, and then trying to regulate the brain back so that the alarm system, what we call the amygdala, that the alarm system then can connect again with the prefrontal cortex, really assess the situation instead of saying, I could kill you, that you think about, maybe it's not a good idea. Yeah. And then getting our full brain back, and then we can operate and then do the complex processing that's needed.